Caressa sent me this article, and I wasn't going to talk about it because I actually responded back to her. And when I saw the title "Fox News and Sexual Harassment" in it, I said, "Oh, this." I literally replied back to her and said, "Surprise, surprise." And then she responded back to me with something, and I can't remember exactly what she said. I think in a way she was trying to hint that I would definitely want to talk about this, but I didn't pay it any mind. So I went on to Twitter maybe about a couple hours later, and this was trending #1. I said, oh, this must be something serious. And these 3 images came up. Now, I'm familiar with 2 of them, but I can't say I'm too familiar with the first one, whose name is Ed Henry. And before I go any further, even when Tucker Carlson is smiling, he still looks confused. Like, how is that possible? Like, that's just his natural thing. Now, I have never talked about Tucker Carlson this much on my channel, at least consecutively like this, to the point where I'm almost doing 1 video a week about him. That's crazy. But it's Tucker Carlson at the end of the day, and as long as it's something bad, yes, I went there. Hey, it is what it is out there. And now they're talking about these 3 right here. But it doesn't surprise me considering it's coming from Fox News. Like, that place is a cesspool for fuckery. I'm just putting it out there. But there has been a lawsuit that has accused Ed Henry, who was the first guy right up there to the left, of rape. And it also says that Sean Hannity or Sean Clanity and Tucker Carlson also harassed other women. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Are we surprised? No, we are not. All the stories we have heard that come out of that network over the years should surprise absolutely no one. And the fact that people still watch it is just like you're enabling. You're just enabling it. Now, mind you, Tucker Carlson's already on thin ice himself with what just recently happened with his now former writer, Blake Neff. You know, and the racist stuff that he put out there online. And Tucker Carlson was supposed to be on a quote unquote vacation. Let this vacation be extended, is all I have to say. But let me go ahead and get into this. A bombshell lawsuit filed by 2 women Monday accused former Fox News chief national correspondent Ed Henry of raping one of them, and says the network star anchor Sean Clanity once offered $100 to staffers to quote unquote date another woman who also accuses Henry of sexual harassment. The federal suit says that one of the plaintiffs, Kathy Aru, also was sexually harassed by other high-profile men at Fox News, including Clanity, host Tucker Carlson, journalist Howard Kurtz, and contributor Gianno Caldwell. The other plaintiff, former Fox Business associate producer Jennifer Eckhart, claims that Henry raped her in addition to committing other sexual misconduct against her. Aru had been a frequent guest on Fox News, but the network says she was neither an employee nor a contributor. However, the lawsuit identifies her as meeting the definition of an employee, albeit not a full-time one. The Manhattan federal court lawsuit comes 3 weeks after Fox News fired Henry for what the network said was sexual misconduct. The suit names as defendants Fox News, Clandy, Carlson, and Kurtz, and was filed on behalf of Eckhart and Aru by lawyers Douglas Wigder and Michael Williman. Fox News in a statement said that an investigation had found all of Aru's claims against the men other than Henry were false, and what they put quotes around false, and that it intended to fight her other allegations. The network added that Aru and Eckhart can pursue their legal claims against Ed Henry directly with him, at Fox News already took swift action as soon as it learned of Ms. Eckhart's claims on June 25th, and Mr. Henry is no longer employed by the network. Henry's lawyer, Catherine Fody, in an email statement said, "The Me Too movement has helped to bring light to a number of injustices in our society, and everyone that has suffered deserves to be heard. This is not one of those cases. The evidence in the case will demonstrate that Ms. Eckhart initiated and completely encouraged a consensual relationship. Ed Henry looks forward to presenting actual facts and evidence which will contradict the fictional accounts contained in the complaint. That evidence includes graphic photos and other aggressively suggestive communications that Ms. Eckhart sent to Mr. Henry. The women's lawsuit says that in late June, Eckhart's lawyer put Fox News on notice of legal claims against the network, and Henry informed Fox in graphic and specific detail how Mr. Henry groomed, psychologically manipulated, and coerced Ms. Eckhart into having a sexual relationship with him. The suit says that Mr. Henry not only leveraged this imbalance of power for control over his victim, Ms. Eckhart, but asked her to be his sex slave and his little whore, and threatened punishment and retaliation of Ms. Eckhart did not apply with his sexual demands. And when she did not comply voluntarily, he sexually assaulted her on her office property and raped her at a hotel where Fox News frequently lodged its visiting employees. It says that Eckhart was handcuffed when she was raped. Prior to violently assaulting Miss Eckhart, Mr. Henry took photos of Miss Eckhart on his iPhone while laughing as Miss Eckhart pleaded with Mr. Henry to stop and to remove the handcuffs and to delete the naked pictures he took of her without her consent. It adds that Eckhart believes Henry used the photos as an intimidation tactic to silence her and to be filed away and retained for purposes of blackmail that could destroy her career. Eckhart's lawyers said that when Fox News terminated Henry, the network purported to take credit for acting appropriately. However, nothing could be further from the truth, the suit says. It says Fox knew that Henry had engaged in sexual misconduct as far back as early 2017, when multiple women came forward to complain that Mr. Henry had engaged in sexually inappropriate conduct towards them. But Henry was not fired or even disciplined after those earlier accusations. The network only fired Henry this month because Fox News realized that it was on the precipice of a public relations nightmare and wanted to get out ahead of this suit and be able to claim that it had done the right thing. It had not. And you know what? That's what a lot of these corporations are like. They will keep these people on who know that they are shady and don't need to be there. But to get ahead of a scandal, they'll do this and then say, see, we fired him or fired them. So we did the right thing. So you can't say that we, didn't do the right thing. They are full of it. Eckhart is suing Fox and Henry for violations of federal sex trafficking laws, New York State and city human rights laws, and for gender-motivated violence under New York City's administrative code. Aru is suing all of the same grounds as Eckhart other than the sex trafficking violations. The suit says Aru was victimized by Henry, who allegedly sent her a slew of wildly inappropriate sexual images and messages which are in her possession throughout the first half of this year. But Mr. Henry was far from the only Fox News anchor who has subjected Miss Aru to sexual harassment. She was also subjected to inappropriate harassment and retaliation by Mr. Clanity, Mr. Carlson, Mr. Kurtz, and Gianno Caldwell. The filing said that Aru was a relatively regular face on the Sean Clanity show until March 8, 2018. On that day, Mr. Clanity, on set in front of the entire studio crew and completely unsolicited, threw $100 on a set desk. He then began calling out to the men in the room and demanding that someone take Miss Aru out on a date for drinks at Del Frisco's. The suit says Del Frisco's is a steakhouse in Midtown Manhattan that is a watering hole for Fox News staff, whose offices are just across the street from the eatery. Clanity repeatedly yelled, "Who wants to take her on a date? Take her on a date to Del Frisco's," the suit claims. Miss Aru was completely mortified and made clear that she was incredibly uncomfortable with Mr. Clanity's misogynistic behavior by quietly pleading with one of her friends in the room to accept the money so that the humiliation would end. After a December 2018 appearance by Aru on Carlson's show, according to the suit, the host told her he was going to the network's annual Christmas party but would only be staying for a quick appearance. Following the show, Mr. Carlson, hardly making any efforts to hide his intentions, began telling Miss Aru that he would be alone in New York City that night, and specifically said that he would be staying alone in his hotel room without any wife or kids. Without questioning, Mr. Carlson was probing to see whether Miss Aru was interested in a sexual relationship. I'm sorry about that. Miss Aru awkwardly sidestepped Mr. Carlson's advances and declined to spend the night at his hotel. Mr. Carlson promptly retaliated against Miss Aru, who was featured on his show only 3 times in 2019 and has not appeared once in 2020. The suit also claims that Aru's appearance on Kurtz's media buzz was dwindled after she declined to meet him in the lobby of a Manhattan hotel. Later, Mr. Kurtz stated to Miss Aru in the sum and substance, "You're the only woman here who won't come to my hotel room." The suit also says it is widely documented in the public record that Fox News has not only cultivated and fostered sexual harassment and misconduct, but has consistently accepted and rewarded it. Nevertheless, Fox News would have had the public believe it was a different place from Fox News that was run by former disgraced chairman and CEO Roger Ailes. Unfortunately, it is actually worse. Fox News said in a statement based on the findings in a comprehensive independent investigation conducted by an outside law firm, including interviews with numerous eyewitnesses, we have determined that all of Kathy Aru's claims against Fox News, including its management as well as its host Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, and Howard Kurtz and its contributor Gianno Caldwell, are false, patently frivolous, and utterly devoid of any merit. We take all claims of harassment, misconduct, and retaliation seriously, promptly investigating them, and taking immediate action as needed. In this case, the appropriate action based on our investigation is to defend vigorously against these baseless allegations. In other words, they need to protect their golden gooses at that network. They see that they got rid of one guy, but they can't afford to get rid of people like Sean Hannity or Tucker Carlson. So they'll protect them no matter what, unless there's something that happens that they cannot absolutely defend them on. That's what they did with Bill O'Wifebeater. They defended that man to the T until it pretty much got out there that this guy was beating the shit out of his wife. To those of you out there who don't know why I call him Bill O'Wifebeater, that's why. That guy was known to abuse his wife. I wonder if his wife is still with him. But yeah, this is all a protection tactic. They do this every single time when it comes to people like them. They're going to protect them to the end. And it's Fox News we're talking about here. We know what type of stuff they talk about, and they are a ratings draw. So like I said, they will do any and everything to protect them. Could it be a possibility that these women could be embellishing? Yeah, it could be a strong possibility, especially since in this Me Too era, many of them have been known to be liars. But at the same time, could they be telling the truth? Very much so, because look at the history that Fox News has when it comes to the relations between their male and female employees. So it's a toss-up at the same time, but hey, as long as one or two all three, I don't care, are caught up in a scandal, I could care less. But we should see how all of this plays out.